They're whispered around campfires and passed down from generations of humans to the next generation of humans as you spread out without end. They spark fear in the hearts and minds of children and adults alike. Their subjects take many shapes, be they bloodthirsty creatures of the night, vengeance-seeking ghouls, or sinister events, and each time they are told, the terror spreads. America is a country rich in folklore, a place where cautionary tales have always been mixed into the pot and sprinkled into our collective nightmares almost as if logic and reason have no place to exist. Yet some of that nation's eeriest and most persistent stories, whether because they're rooted in community lore or used as means to synthesize local tragedy, don't travel far. Never fear, because I've tracked down the creepiest urban legends in some of the dumbest states, and the macabre bunch of stories is certain to freak you out, no matter where you live. Freaking out is not guaranteed. Alabama. Dead children's playground. Why it's creepy. This eerie playground adjacent to Maple Hill, Huntsville's oldest cemetery, doesn't just have an eerie nickname for fun. The playground was presumably designed to entertain kids while their parents visited the graves of loved ones, which sounds perfectly reasonable if you don't bother to think about that. Legend has it that the spirits of children who've been buried in the cemetery since the first grave was dug there in 1822 come out to play at night. The living have observed orbs of light going down the slide, seen swings moving on their own, and even heard giggling. Creepier still, some say the spirits include victims of a rash of child murders that happened in the 60s, when bodies were rumored to have been found in the area that now houses the playground. Where it came from, the playground itself wasn't opened until 1985, so you can imagine how much pent-up energy the tiny spirits had after 163 years without having anything to play on. In 2007, the city tried to raise the park to make more room for graves and removed the slides and swings overnight. After public outcry, it was replaced with more modern equipment, making it slightly less creepy to look at, and also probably resulting in some happier ghosts. Who knows how these things work? Alaska. The Alaska Triangle. Why it's creepy. Encompassing an area ranging from near Juneau in the southeast to the northern Barrow region to the western metropolis of Anchorage, Alaska's answer to the Bermuda Triangle is comprised some of the most barren wilderness in the U.S., and it apparently craves souls. More than 20,000 people have gone missing without a trace in the area during the past half-century alone. Are they being consumed by mythological beings like the beastly Keelet or the ghoulish kidnapper Kalupalik, lost on extreme hikes, or simply vanishing into a dark vortex? Nobody knows, though it's not for lack of trying. When the government lost their leading politician, Hale Boggs Cessna, to the Triangle in 1972, a massive search turned up tons of conspiracy theories, but no bodies. Where it came from. The area has been associated with evil spirits, and Tlingit lore for centuries attributed trickster demons for luring people to an icy death. Others believe the area exists amid an electromagnetically influenced, vile vortex. Still others think it's a Darwinian result of explorers taking on nature. Regardless, the area continues to claim people, and underneath that massive blanket of snow and rock likely lies one of the largest and best preserved mass graves in the world. Arizona. Skinwalkers. Why it's creepy. It's easy to feel uneasy while driving through the desolate desert roads of Arizona, especially as it's full of people who live in Arizona. It's probably even worse at night, and particularly so when you hear a short burst of taps on your window while cruising at 60 miles per hour and turn to see the shape-shifting, mutilated, half-human creature responsible for the high-speed interruption. Relax, it's only trying to rip the flesh off your bones. This legend is so ingrained in Arizona culture that, when a Navajo woman was found brutally murdered in Flagstaff, the accused killer's defense in court was that the attack could have only been perpetrated by a skinwalker. There's even a defined and well-documented portion of the state known as Skinwalker Ranch where you are most likely to see one of the creatures. Where it came from. The skinwalkers, like so many ancient American urban legends, have roots in Native American folklore. While it's fairly hard to gather specific details, as speaking of potentially sinister legends is seriously taboo in Navajo culture, It is understood that what non-Navajos refer to as skinwalkers are witch doctors who have become an evil reflection of everything the Navajo Nation values. Basically, they are men who've transformed into malevolent, murderous creatures that have no qualms using their spiritual powers to kill. Navajo medicine men are trained to learn both good and evil aspects of their power, and skinwalkers are those who have turned to the dark side. It's all very Star Wars. Interestingly, but not surprisingly, Arizona has some of the worst adult literacy in America, but I'm sure that's not related. Arkansas, the dog boy. Why it's creepy. The name sounds kind of goofy and probably couldn't have happened anywhere except America. But, if you find yourself at 65 Mulberry Street, in the middle of the minuscule Arkansas town of Quitman, you won't laugh if you see the hulking outline of a 300-pound half-man, half-beast, complete with glowing animal eyes, glaring out of the windows. Walk quickly, as he has been known to chase people down his street, biting at their heels, kind of like a dog, actually. Where it came from. This is actually the rare urban legend where the story behind the story ends up being even creepier than the folklore. Gerald Bettis, the only son of the Bettis family of 65 Mulberry, was always a problem child. But not in the cute way. Bettis would collect and torture animals, hence the dog boy moniker, before turning his sociopathic focus to his elderly parents, allegedly imprisoning them in their own home and potentially even murdering his father. Eventually, Bettis would be imprisoned for growing marijuana on his back porch and would die in a state penitentiary in 1988 of a drug overdose. America is a wonderful place. California, the many horrors of Turnbull Canyon. Why it's creepy. Located near LA between Whittier and City of Industry, Turnbull is a 49,000-acre smorgasbord of nightmare fuel set amid the scenic hills. You want your scares rooted in American history? The natives called it Hutukingna, or the place of the devil, where the ghosts of those slain for not converting to Christianity dwell alongside witches and Satanists, who reportedly used the place to sacrifice children, whose spirits now walk the canyon and dangle from trees. They're joined by the ghosts of 21 kids who perished in a plane crash back in '52. Allegedly, as there's no existing record of it. Then there's the remains of the old insane asylum that came back to life to kill a teen in the '60s via a long dormant electrical wire. There are cults, alien encounters, gravity hills. It goes on, like one of Teacher Collins' grammar lessons. Where it came from. The place's evil vibes date back centuries, though it wasn't until the site was established as a fur trapping site in 1845 that things started getting really intense, with word of the site's terrors traveling far and wide and making it a place visited as much for its beauty as morbid curiosity. There is no record of why this whole place hasn't been burnt down so someone can turn it into the world's biggest coffee shop. Colorado, Riverdale Road. Why it's creepy. For 11 horrifying miles, Riverdale Road near Thornton, Colorado is crammed with enough stupid legends to bring even the bravest paranormal investigator to his knees, from a ghostly runner attacking parked cars on Joggers Hill to various demons and even a phantom Camaro revving up and down the winding road. The physical iron gates are now gone, but what remains is the partial shell of an old mansion where a madman supposedly burned his wife and children alive. Left behind are the barren, charred plot of land and a white-clad woman who wanders the area. She's joined by the ghosts of slaves supposedly hanged from the now charred tree. Go ahead and run away when you see something creepy like an ethereal pack of dogs. You're probably just going to bump into something worse, possibly hell, a portal to which some believe is here. That maybe explains why so many demons were conjured in a weird underground chicken coop near a set of underground tunnels. Where it came from. It's unknown when things got really hairy, though given the spirits of ghost slaves, it's safe to assume terrible things have been happening on Riverdale Road since the 1850s. And each time something terrible happened over the decades, it just kind of got stacked onto this poorly written horror show. So that's a brief look at some of America's dumbest nonsense. Is any of it real? Lots of people have seen their things and the stories spread out from one person to the next. Is there really more to the world than what we see every day? Do we live in a universe where the boundaries between what we know and what we imagine are just paper thin? Who cares? Not me.